And now, ladies and gents, we safely swift into our final segment. The segment we've all been waiting for, where we pit the three most intelligent people in the world against each other.
Oh, steady
And
on
they
now.
debate. And just joshing. And we debate whatever is entirely at the whim of my imagination 3 months ago when I wrote these things. So, Ollie, would you like to go up against Jake?
Yeah, all right. I'll do one. I'm not in much of a debatey mood. I'll warn you, but I'll do one just for the
Alright,
spirit of the podcast.
Well, I rarely am.
Because you're gonna get wrecked, mate.
Yeah, pretty much. I've never won one yet.
Here we go. You've not won one yet, have you not?
Not on the podcast, no.
That's interesting. Why do you think that is?
It's because I'm terrible. No, I don't know.
How come you're not in a debatey
I
mood,
just-
Ollie, do you think?
I don't know.
Go on, Jake.
I just don't know.
I
Don't know, mate.
don't know. I just I feel like I don't have the debating skills. You know what I mean? I don't have the rhetoric or the energy to actually
It's
pull
just
it off.
this game is just an exercise in rhetoric, really.
It really is. And I don't have any
Sometimes
of it.
we uncover some truths, uncomfortable truths about ourselves. That's what makes it all worth it, I think.
I think that's what you like to tell yourself, so that we continue to have an excuse to play this bloody game.
We don't have to play it. I just really like it.
No, I do enjoy it actually. Although I'm shocking at it and hate it.
Sounds like there's some mixed emotions there. Like,
Yeah, man. Big time.
Okay. One of these is very specific to us, by the way. The three things, the three debating topics that you guys have. One, we should make it illegal to draw with anything other than the Palomino Blackwing.
Me and Adam can debate that one, I think.
Yeah, Ollie doesn't know enough about him to competently debate. The second one is the moon landing was faked.
Oh, okay.
The third one is prisoners should be dressed in giant carrot costumes and guards should be dressed in giant rabbit costumes.
Goodness me.
What's it gonna be, lads?
what was the second one?
The moon landing was faked.
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
You want to debate that one?
Huh?
You want to debate that one?
The moon landing one.
Yeah.
I could do that all day long, mate.
Oh, Jake, what do you think?
All day long, any day of the week, fam.
I really don't know if I can do that one. I'll moderate this one if you want. If Adam, you fancy taking that one up.
Sure, I don't mind.
Yep, let's
All
do
right.
it.
Hang on, I need to get a coin to flip. Right. Heads. Ollie says
Shoulders.
it's faked. Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's tails.
Oh God.
Adam is arguing
Oh, I wanted to say it was fake.
the affirmative case that the moon landing was faked. Alright.
Okie dokie. That means I go first.
That is correct. Let me get a stopwatch. Right. Adam, are you ready?
No.
Let me know when you are.
No, I'll give it a go.
Alright. Your 2-minute opening statement begins now.
So, the moon landing. There is a huge following right now saying that the moon landing was real, and you can be certain that they are wrong. And I'm going to lay out as consistently and clearly as possible why that is true. Number one, we know for a fact that NASA has changed statements before. We know for a fact that NASA has misled people with evidence before. We know for a fact that NASA doesn't have any authority regulating it in the way that it should. NASA would have got a lot of money for that, pretending to land on the moon, and if just because NASA's can do that means it can continue creating excuses in order to gain money to exist as an institution. I would suggest, it may be a conspiracy theory, but I would suggest it's very possible that NASA could be creating a series of issues that it could be using for its own profit. Another point I'd like to point out is that we currently can't see where we first landed on the moon. I maybe we could have landed later, but the original moon landing, was it faked, is entirely possible. There are people who claim to have worked on the actual moon landing set before. There are people that have claimed to have been a part of the set. There are people that have been killed in American government positions who have died mysteriously connected to it, who allegedly were going to come out about it. To assume we had the technology to survive in the vacuum of space is entirely possible. I could believe all of the technology was possible to get us there, in fact. But I just believe we didn't do it. And I think that the consistency of my argument will be a testimony to that effect.
All right, time.
Are you quite done?
I am.
Read your Bible, boy.
Mr. Bullard, your time begins now.
Alright. I simply don't think there's enough evidence to say that the moon landing wasn't real. There's plenty of evidence to say that it was. And there's plenty of evidence to say that we've certainly been to the moon. I don't know if we're debating specifically the moon landing or, you know, any subsequent visits or anything like that, because I think there was a few in there. So, yeah, I just simply think there's a lack of evidence. Any of the theories that I am aware of about the moon landing have been debunked. I know quite a few of them because I did some research when I was younger about things like the issues with the flag and the way the shadows happen and the way the crosshairs of the cameras don't quite seem to make sense. But yeah, a lot of them have been debunked, and I don't see consistent evidence, so I assume the null hypothesis. That's my statement.
All right. You had 45 seconds left. Adam?
Yeah?
Are you prepared for your 2-minute rebuttal?
Yeah.
Alright, your time begins now.
Now, you see, my opponent, all he's done is tell me and tell this beautiful, unassuming audience that these arguments have been debunked, and yet he doesn't provide any way in which they've been debunked. He just says they've been debunked. They have been defeated. They have been proven wrong, and yet doesn't provide a way. He tells us all these problems, such as the camera crosshairs not adding up. He tells us such problems about the problem with the shadows and the problem with the flag. How did the flag stand up, etc., etc., etc. And yet he didn't tell us why. He didn't explain to us why these things aren't up. And the truth is because that we have been indoctrinated in this culture to blindly accept what scientists say on a political basis. NASA often being the chief of this in terms of climate change. I mean, think about how often somebody would be bullied today if they said they didn't believe the moon landing was real, for example. All it is scientific dogma. All it is the belief in scientism, in fact, I would go as far as to say. And all my opponent done is better serve my argument. And I think if you continue to analyze the claims I've made, even against the claims that my opponent has made, which he can't even back up sources for his own claims, back up parts for his own claims, back up parts of his own argument, and he even attacks me and can't even back up those attacks. My opponent has proven he is incapable of proving that. And also, I asked him this. Was he there? Does he know anybody that's ever been there? Was anybody that ever been there wrote it down? Absolutely not. There has never been any current living record. In fact, no one had ever met anybody called Buzz Aldrin or Neil Armstrong. They were entirely fictitious creations by NASA. And in fact, the actor who played Neil Armstrong recently came out and admitted that it was a lie and that it was a well-paying gig, and he took it, but now he regrets it. I end my rebuttal.
That was perfect timing.
Thank you.
Right.
Okay, so I'd like to first point out that the reason, in my opening statement, I hadn't tried to debunk any of the theories about the moon landing conspiracy was because I hadn't been presented with any theories about the moon landing conspiracy on which to debunk. I was aware of some pre-existing ones that I can debunk upon request. Well, some of them that I can debunk. I don't know all of them. But yeah, I'm not aware of any of Buzz Aldrin being an actor or Thingy being an actor, Armstrong being an actor. I've never heard of that one. I mean, the only one you've actually mentioned so far is the flag issue. The flag had a metal pole going through the top of it. That's why it stayed up. You can actually see it in the photographs. So there's that one for you. And yeah, I just assume the null hypothesis is more reasonable to assume that it actually happened because there's more evidence supporting the fact that it happened. And that's logically the best way to go. That's my statement.
All right. You once again had 45 seconds left. Okay.
Are we?
Right. For our 4 minutes of open discussion, I'd like to begin with asking if either of you have got anything that you would want to bring up. Well, actually, no. I'll say, Adam, I'd like you to respond with to Ollie's accusation that you haven't actually provided any positive evidence or argumentation that the moon landing was indeed faked.
Very good question. I can tell you're a stout young man. I can tell you've got a good head on your
A
shoulders.
stout
And I
young
can tell-
man. Thank you for commenting on my weight.
No, isn't that a word? Stout.
Astute.
Astute. Sorry.
Well, let me remind you, Adam, that Jake is actually judging your argument here. So you might not want to insult him.
It was unintentional, as I'm sure you'll be able to know with your incredible brain. But anyway,
Cute brain.
I have a piece of evidence that my opponent hasn't even mentioned.
Give it here,
Why
then.
was there no impact crater? Why was there no impact crater?
Are you wanting me to respond to that now?
No.
Oh, right, okay.
I've been asked the question. Another piece of evidence I could provide is why is it that across the different pictures of the different Apollo missions, there is identical backdrops, and yet, the allegedly the original device that was used to land on the moon isn't in these backdrops and is allegedly lost. However, the mountain formations look exactly the same. Suspicious, is it not? I've finished my question reply.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, go on, mate.
So, anyone asking why there was no impact crater on where the moon landing was clearly doesn't understand how you land on the moon. Like, it's not an impact; it's a controlled landing because they had to take off again. So there's that. What else? What else we got? So I mean, a backdrop of mountains. Mountains all look pretty similar, especially when they're all white. There's that. When you initially said about a backdrop, I was thinking, what, like a black sky? It's kind of, yeah. What
Yeah, I
else
mean,
did
like-
you mention?
I mean the mountain formation
Yeah.
specifically.
Okay. Is that actually a thing?
Yeah,
What, and they're supposed to be in like different locations?
yeah.
The issue I have with that is that if that wasn't a coincidence, right, and genuinely it was done in a studio, right, that was organised by the government, do you think they wouldn't have thought of that?
Well, and what if it's budget?
It was done by the government.
Yeah, the government's not some infinite money fountain.
So it's like, okay, NASA, North Atlantic Space Agency, here's what we want you to do. We want you to fool the entire world into thinking that we've actually landed on the moon. But there's a catch. We've got a pretty small budget. We're
I have
on a
question.
budget.
I have a question for Ollie, Jake, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, sure.
Ollie, what is the most convincing argument that you think that we didn't land on the moon?
Um, in some of the photographs, the lighting looks like it's been done on set, like shadows going in all different directions.
We've run out of time, but I'd like to ask: is there something that is there like a way that is rebutted, or is that something that's still kind of up in the air or not?
I think we should just leave it hanging.
Okay. No.
I realise I shouldn't have even said anything because you basically just asked me to aid your own argument. But...
I wanted to see if you would fall for it.
Is is there a solution to that? Like, is there an answer to that objection?
Would you like me to rebut his last statement, Jake?
Okay.
Yeah, what my opponent said is absolutely true. The light pattern is totally freaky, in fact, bizarre, and indicative of the fact that it was entirely
right time. Enough of that rubbish. Right. Anyway, Adam, your 20-second closing statement begins now.
Okay, in this last 20 seconds, I'm going to do my best to sum up my argument. The duplicate backdrop. Okay, that's the first evidence. The lack of stars, even in high-definition photos, even with photos that will be able to pick up enough light to pick up stars, there are no stars. Clearly something's going on in here. Okay, we have another problem with...
Okay.
Begin.
Right. Okay. When Adam talks about the lack of stars, because it's in high definition, I feel like a misunderstanding of the way photography works. And I don't think Adam's actually represented his own argument very well. In fact, I've represented his own argument for him, mostly. So, I just don't think that's a strong argument.
Right. This is actually a tough one. Because I was actually really thinking Ollie did a great job until that last... the
last hurdle.
The bit where you managed to trick him into arguing your own point up until the clock went down. That was a pretty good tactic right there.
Thank you very much. It's called the Adam. Just the Adam.
Just the Adam, right. I don't know. I'll have to give that one to Ollie. He stuck to it pretty well until that last bit. But
Can I clarify, Ollie? Do you actually believe the moon landing was false?
No.
Oh, because you sounded like you really, really did believe it was false.
I know. I when I was younger, I used to enjoy learning about like different conspiracy theories. Like I think it's really clever the way people come up with like a lot of these conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
But have you actually seen like all the pictures of the moon that look like they've been airbrushed and stuff like that as well? Like the NASA released pictures of the moon, and you can see they've been airbrushed in places, and like the airbrushing is actually like bits that have airbrushed look like shapes, like squares and rectangles.
Really?
Yeah, looks like there could be like a compound of buildings underneath them, sort of thing. Really weird.
I mean, I've got to be honest. I literally have no. I mean,
Do you
I
make
can
up
see...
the backdrop thing?
No. I know that's an argument.
That's the thing. Oh.
Like, I know the most famous one is Apollo 15 and Apollo 11. There are two pictures from those missions, and yet the mountain ranges are exactly the same.
There's a really crazy one where on the original mission the cameras that they used had crosshairs in them.
Yeah.
And Where the crosshair intersected with the really brilliant white spacesuit, it actually looked like the crosshair was going behind the spacesuit.
Hmm.
Hmm.
That's quite weird, actually.
Really strange. But the argument against that is that the way the photography worked back then when it was done basically meant that because you've got everything's grey and then you've got a really, really super white spacesuit, the crosshair just bleeds out. Like the white just bleeds into where the crosshair is, and it looks like it's sort of going behind the spacesuit.
That is legit, actually. That's why there's like you get TV yellow, which was like it's TV yellow because it shows up as being bright white.
Yeah.
On like old TV.
Yeah.
But like when you look at it now with a normal, like a good camera, it's just like a really strange off yellow color.
Hmm.
Because
The
the
other
actual
one-
white does that.
Yeah, the other thing is, what is it? Oh yeah, the stars thing. Like, I get low camera, like basically the only way you can take a picture of the stars is if your camera can take in enough light that it would hit the what it's called now, hit the sensor. That's it.
Yeah.
And I have no idea what cameras used on the moon. I have no idea. But it is a bit suspicious that they didn't pick up any stars. Do you know what I mean?
I don't think they would.
Do you think the cameras would be that bad?
It's not a matter of bad. It's the technique of photography. You don't want to pick up the stars, so you're looking at a limited focal distance. You're going to have a fairly quick shutter speed because of the amount of light. You're not going to be wanting a lot of light to come in, and then your actual focal point of the picture that's close to you is really going to be fairly overexposed for your short shutter speed. So you're going to be limiting the amount of light in because of the overexposure of the big white spacesuit and the white rocks everywhere. And then so that's going to stop your small amount of light coming in because of all the stars, from all the stars.
I'm
That
not
makes sense.
I'm not talking about just on the moon. I'm talking about any pictures of space. Usually stars are always photoshopped. Unless it's like nebulas and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean?
It's because they don't do long exposures. You're only going to pick stars up if it's a long exposure.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So why?
It's not. It's.
But
it's
you're
just-
saying it's too bright on the moon, so they wouldn't do it. I guess. Otherwise, they would just be unrecognizable.
Yeah, I mean the actual thing that they're photographing would just be way too overexposed if they did it in such a way that you're going to be able to see the stars.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, Adam, do you think the moon landing was faked?
No.
All right, okay.
The brutal truth of it is, Jake, I really don't care. I
Yeah.
don't care that we landed on the moon. It means nothing to me. Like even it's kind of back to this Nabil thing. You could say, "Oh, it's a momentous scientific achievement." So what? Who cares? So what? You know what I mean? At the end of the day, you can't take it with you. At the end of the day, the only thing that matters in this life is Jesus or nothing. And it's like this is what Thingy said as well. Not Ken Ham, but the other guy, Bill Nye. Ken Ham kept saying to Bill Nye, "If you die at the end and that's that, then what is the point? What is the point of trying hard?" And Ken Ham and Bill Nye kept saying, "Well, you'd have children, they'd have children," and then he was like, "Yeah, but what is the point? What is the point in all of this?" And you can't make a point. And the moon landing is the same thing. What is the point of trying to scientifically achieve something? Specifically to do with distance. I understand medical stuff like that, but what is the point of trying to scientifically prove you can put somebody in the moon? I just can't appreciate it whatsoever. I think it's a waste of time and a waste of money.
Well, all right. I think that concludes the Alternative Review episode 9.
Yeah.
Excellent, eh?
Derp of the week goes to NASA.
All right.
For faking the moon landing.
Yeah.
Either that or actually trying to put someone on the moon in the first place. A lose-lose situation, NASA. We've got you.
All right. I think that's it. I don't know how to end it.
Laters, people.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Catch you later, friend.